Hello everybody, and welcome back to the next installment in my Christmas in July series. I just realized that I've been talking at the camera for about 6 minutes and explaining this journal, and I didn't have it turned on. So anyway, now everything's good to go. So while I am getting my thoughts and my act together, why don't you go ahead and grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack, and come right back and I will take you through this sweet little journal. It's called Mama's Kitchen, and this is the third video for my Christmas in July sale series. All right, everybody back. I am ready and I've got my brain turned on all the way, I hope. And hopefully all my words come together and I can be as brilliant as I was in the unrecorded version. First, let me say that the announcement for my Christmas in July sale was last week's video. So if you haven't seen that video, please stop right now, go back to that video and catch up. In there I talk about the other things that I have on sale, and then I had previewed another journal on Saturday. We squeezed in an extra video this week just so I could show you everything that I was having included in the sale. So this journal is called Mama's Kitchen, and it is made from a Betty Crocker 3-ring recipe binder. It has special significance because the recipe binder actually belonged to my son-in-law's grandma, and she had an estate sale a couple of years ago, and I snagged this recipe binder. Now I also have the same one, so if I have a second, I will try to snap a picture and show you what it looked like before. It's from, I believe, 1989. And mine I got for my wedding, so I use it all the time. So it was kind of fun to go through this and change it up and make it into something a little bit different. The fabric on the cover is from a Christmas tree skirt that I thrifted, as well as this little pocket here, and the ruffle is also a part of the Christmas tree skirt. I had this lace in my stash. I think it might have been Hobby Lobby, but don't quote me. And then this trim work here is vintage trim, upholstery trim that I had ordered from Diane H at Pretty Pink Cottage on Etsy. And she's also Diane H here on YouTube. I edged it with some lace that I also had thrifted. And then I had some of this Christmas ribbon in my stash. And then I cut out a heart from the tree skirt fabric as well and attached it, sewed it on here, and it is backed by mesh from vegetable bags. The green one I believe was avocado, and the red one was either onions, or it could have even been oranges. At that same estate sale I found a red doily. It was kind of a heart-shaped big thing, and I cut a circle out of that, and then on top of that I layered another little doily. It's a piece of lace from an outfit that my daughter used to own, and it got a hole, but it still had all these pretty little lace medallions, so I've been cutting it up and using it. I bundled some cinnamon sticks together and tied them with red twine and added the sweet little heart charm. This is a gift from my friend Carol, who has contributed to this project by helping me figure out how to do the cover on it. It took me forever because I struggle with covers. I've added this sweet little charm here that says love, and it is attached with a bulb pin, and then it has another little teeny tiny dangly bell, also a gift from Carol. I added the cinnamon sticks because when I think of home or Mama's Kitchen, that is one of the things that you think of are the scents and the smells and the aromas of what is home. And so as you go through this journal, it has kind of a late 70s, early 80s vibe. It has a lot of pastel colors, and then also browns and dusty rose from the 70s. I tried to incorporate items that would evoke memories of what do we do in the kitchen besides baking. You know, you play card games or you visit with friends or what have you. So I just tried to include elements that might have something to do with what you do when you hang out at home in Mama's kitchen, if that makes sense. So I'm going to open the cover here, and it is tied with this. It's like a shoelace, but it didn't come from a shoelace. I don't know what kind of cord that is, but anyway, that's how it ties together. And then I lined it with the same black and white fabric that's on the cover, and then I also sewed on one of these cute little gingerbread men. Now, this journal is a little bit tricky because the top two prongs did not fit together. And I had a little bit of an issue because I was trying to figure out how to get around that. These are 1/8 of an inch wide and the hole is 1/4 of an inch wide. And so literally you have a 1/16 of an inch to play with. Otherwise it doesn't work. And so that was part of my struggle in before I could get it ready to go, was just to figure out how to work around that problem. And the solution that I came up with, I don't know, this may or may not help some of you, was pipettes. That was the only thing. I was trying to come up with something, and then I was at Hobby Lobby. So I bought these at Hobby Lobby. These are in the soap making section, and I'm mentioning this in case anybody else has this problem. But it came in 2 sizes, and I used the bigger size. Okay, so I cut a piece off of that, and it's not perfect, but it will at least help me to flip through the journal, and then later whoever the new owner can decide if they want to keep that or do something different. And also I could probably use a few less pages, but it was really hard to decide what to take out. A lot of these older cookbooks have an acetate layer. Now this cookbook originally did not, but the older vintage type binder style cookbooks do, and that kind of inspired me. And so I cut a piece of acetate off of one of those transparencies that I picked up in a haul and just laid it there, and I think it will help protect these layers. So as we go through, I added elements from 2 or 3 different kitchen packs, and they're not the whole set, and I don't remember exactly what they are. This is one of the cut aparts from one of those sets, and then a page from a little Christmas gift book. And then I have a really old set of Mary Engelbreit 6x6s that I had picked up years ago at Michael's, and so there are 3 of them in this binder that fit really well. I've used a lot of these cardstocks, as I mentioned, that have kind of a kitchen theme. And then this one I trimmed out with some pom-pom trim. This is a couple of pages from a Precious Moments children's Christmas book, and I just folded them in. There's a complete little poem in there. And then in between, I added a page from a gardening book. This is a page from another Christmas binder I had made, and it had been bound over here, but then I had too many pages and I had to take some out. So you see where I punched out the shapes here, but I just made it go into the ring binder sideways. I added a pocket, and then I've added some things in here to play with. One of my favorites. I have a couple of these in this journal. This is an address card. It's not even a recipe card. That's what I really liked about it. I liked the colors, and I liked it was an address card. And then I've also got this vintage address label. On the back side, there's a little pocket, and I've got some paper scraps, and I have a tag that I punched from leftover cardstock scraps, and you're going to see quite a few of these in here because they were nice and thin, and I just think they were fun to add. So, and I had lots of those thin scraps, so I put them in here where I could because I just think they're cute. And then I have a vintage recipe card, and that's what's in there. And occasionally, just like with Mary's donkey, you will see where I have sewn bits and pieces of fabric onto the pages. I just like the look and feel that that gives to a journal. Now, the other thing that inspired my name of this journal, at the same estate sale, Georgia also had this cookbook, and it is quintessential 50s, and it was all the great places to eat in the 50 states. And this one is a place called Grandma's Kitchen. And so I just combined the name of Grandma's Kitchen as well as the fact that it was my son-in-law's grandma, but his mom's mom. So that's where I came up with the name Mama's Kitchen. So there are a couple of pages like that in here as well. I added some tab divider pages from another cookbook that I have because the ones that were in here were pretty beat up, and I believe they're yellow. But I had another binder that I didn't use all the tabs in, and so I just added these in where they were appropriate, but I like the color. So I added those in. I also like that they say notes, so you can do a lot of writing. And then I kept the pages that had the big pretty pictures on them. These are usually right after the index dividers. It's usually the main page for the section. So as many of those as I could, I kept. Some of her pages were pretty well beat up and had lots of like stains and grease. I kept the best ones. Here's a children's page book. Here's another page from the book. Another one of those pages from that Christmas gift book that's at the front. And then some darling pages with gorgeous artwork of children. I have 2 or 3 of these in here. I've added some pages from a hymnal that I believe they all had Christmas carols, but I could be wrong. Got a piece of wallpaper here that's Christmas inspired. I thrifted that. And then I have some other elements from things that I ordered along the way. So vintage, this is definitely from the 70s Christmas tag. And then this is one that's a vintage ad. And I thought Chef Boyardee is very fitting for Mama's Kitchen because that's just something you would find there. And then a piece of scrapbook paper. This is a book page, and I like the colors. They went with a theme that I was trying to evoke. I believe it was from a craft book. And then this is a page from a different type of recipe binder, but the sugared nuts and the container it's in is totally 80s. I've added extra pieces of notebook paper where it was a good spot to fill them in, and also some 6x6 paper pad pieces. This is a piece of vintage wrapping paper, and I just like the images and the color palette. And then this is a vintage ad, also something you might find in Mama's Kitchen. And then anywhere where all the pictures were really pretty. Honestly, I have a hard time taking out all the pretty pictures. I struggle, so I probably leave too many in. This is a piece of a Christmas card, so I just cut the back off and kept the pretty picture, and it is now, could be used as a journaling card. More cardstock. This paper pad, this is a cardstock pad from Hobby Lobby, and it reminds me of china dishes, and I love it. Here is one of my fabric flips. This is the one I believe I demoed in the video. So it made it into Mama's Kitchen, and then I tucked a few things in here, and it's just glued onto the page. Here's another one from a different recipe style binder with the mulled cider, which says Christmas to me. Scrapbook paper. When you open it up, I have a couple of layers of notepad paper here. And then this is from an old recipe binder that has the plastic sleeves, and I just trimmed down pieces from the cardstock. This is actually a piece of a vintage placemat with the dusty rose, and it's got that texture on it. And then I've added a page from this book, and I just affixed it with a paper clip, and then I've added a Christmas charm and a little bit of lace. And then on behind here is an Uno game scorecard. So that's one thing that you might do in the kitchen at Mama's house, is play games. Cardstock, I trimmed it with a ruffled piece of fabric, and for me it's easier to pre-sew these and then just glue them on, so that's what I did. And then I also had some stickers from that paper pad set. This is from a children's book, and it talks about baking bread. Another 6x6 paper pad, and here we are at the bread section. So here I took 2 pages and I sewed them together in a big pocket, and I added just a little piece of fabric. And then in here, I'm not going to pull it all the way out, but I have this coupon shopping list, which I also bought from Diane H. at her shop a while ago. A piece of the scrapbook paper, you know, and then this is vintage wrapping paper. Now I pulled it out. I'll put it back at the end. Here is a piece of vintage wallpaper ordered off of a shop on Etsy. These are pieces, various things that I have in my stash, and I just attached them there for interest and backed it with a piece of fabric and a fabric flower, notepad paper. This is from a really old journal. Those blank books, the papers are kind of have that vellum feel to them, or parchment. I had a couple of them. One was for cooking and one was about cats. And the one for cats I got rid of a long time ago, but this one for cooking I thought would be really fun to add to journals. Just a little something different. These actually were from, I think, the early 90s. This is a book page that I thought added to the feeling of our journal. Graph paper that I stamped so you can have writing space. An original page. I like this image there. Another tab divider. And I stamped on these. This one was a little wrinkled, so I reinforced him with a piece of scrapbook paper. Original cookbook page, and it does have a grease spot. It's well loved, but not in a gross way, I hope. I hope it's not gross. If it is, I'm sorry. You can take it out. This is a 6x6 piece of paper, so I made an altered paper clip out of this game piece, and then on this side I have one of the cut aparts, an index card that I hand stamped, another card. I took a cue from Mrs. Coggs in my last recipe binder journal that I made, and she makes like definition cards and little things that she adds into her journals, and it gives it a really nice feel. So this is a leftover from my last journal like that, and I thought it added very well to the theme of this journal. And then just a set of tickets right here to decorate with. And then on this side you have a couple of playing cards. One that's Idaho in the shape of a potato, because that's where I live. And this is a vintage one, also from Diane H's shop. And I'll just keep going through here as quickly as possible. I did a lot of stamping on the pages. They may be Christmas themed, or they may have kind of cooking and baking themes. Another recipe binder page, scrapbook paper, and I just added a tab and a sticker. Here's an original page from the cookbook, and I made a chenille pocket. These chenille pockets were ordered from Laughing Dog's Book Nook with Laura. She's got a lot of those. She must live in an area where people have them. Christmas card for ephemera, and I just added a piece of paper in there so you had better writing space. This is from a notepad of vintage women's dresses. Really old one from Michael's. I've had it for a few years. One of those tags that I talked about. Piece of paper folded up. It's just some accounting paper, just for fun. And then a recipe card gifted to me by my friend Carol. I'm not putting these back in the way they came out, but I like it better. Scrap. And another scrap. All right. Mary Englebright paper from that Michael's pad. Scrapbook paper from my stash. Another 6x6 and a cut apart. And I just used washi tape. And I added a sticker. This one is about helping Grandma bake cookies, and I thought it was appropriate. This is a page from another vintage cookbook, and I just attached it with one of these giant paper clips, and honestly, I don't remember where I got them, but I've had them for a while. Here's another vintage ad with Coffee Mate. So that'd be something you might find in Mama's kitchen, is coffee. This is a postulette I found. It's a thrifted one, and this is the Hallmark version of it, but I like the colors, and it fits in really well, time-wise and style-wise. And then in here, I just have a vintage recipe card, another gift from Carol, a message pad, also old, a page out of another different style Christmas book, an ad from Costco. It's one of those they hand out at the door. Another scrap and another scrap. So lots of things to play with, and then I added a sticker here. And I just love how this page and this page, it might be too busy for some people, but I love it. There's a couple of things I love about this page. Where I needed to, I used the hole reinforcers, and I inked them up in lots of colors, and I just used them to add some extra security to the pages. And then on this page, this is probably hands down my favorite element in the whole journal. This is definitely from the 70s, and I found it at a thrift store. Love that. And it just is so perfect. An original page from the recipe binder. Tag. Another one of these pages with the recipe cards, notebook paper, and then a page from an old vintage magazine, very big. So I folded it in half for you. But I like the colors, I liked the vibe. It's a little bit older than 70s, obviously, but it just went color-wise. Scrapbook paper, desserts. On this page, I've got a piece of stationery and a notepad, and then I have, this is a recipe from a little Christmas gift book, and then this is a devotional page, but it's called Grandma's Recipe. But I thought it was a good fit for the theme of this journal. This is just the sweetest picture. I love this child. She is adorable. I love her face. I love her cookie. And I just loved this picture, so I added it in there. This is another page from the cookbook. And then I glued a card down, and I intended to make the pocket this way and glued it the wrong direction. So your pocket goes this way. So I've got some more things tucked in there. And then on the inside, I just added a cutout from an old recipe that I had cut out way back. I was going through recipes and cleaning stuff out. So this image is from like the 90s probably, when I was first collecting recipes. And then I just used one of my little home decorated paper clips. I added a fabric strip to it. Vintage book page on Christmas crafts. And on the back, I added a cutout as a pocket. Got some more goodies in there for you. This is one that I hand stamped for you, and this is from an address book, but I like the pink color and the shape. And then another Max Lucado page, and then playing card with vintage Coca-Cola Santa. This is from another type of recipe binder, but I like the paper that they printed it on. On this side, I glued on a vintage Denison sticker. I have 2 more book pages that I sewed together as pockets. And in here, I have a couple of cards where I cut off the front, and then you can journal on the back. And then also I have, this is from a bigger style Christmas address book, and I just folded it up and put it in there. Trimmed this out with some red lace, a gardening book page. And on the back side, these flip out. So I just paper clipped on here a Christmas card, some tickets, and then from a local place, a notepad. I like the color. And then a tag that I made, I decoupaged with a Christmas napkin. Added that in there. Another recipe binder page. And then this I trimmed out with wallpaper on the back side and made a pocket here. So here's a canasta game card, notepad, scraps of paper, another Christmas card that I cut the back off of and just made it as a journal page. This is also one of my most favorite elements about this book. This is really just like a title page. This is something that came off a piece of Christmas stationery, and I just took it out and glued it on here as kind of a decoration, added a label, added a sticker. But in here, between that page and this page right here, you have the entire Christmas story, only I did it out of different pages from books, and they're not all the same book. They're different pages from different books to put the nativity story in order in here. And just a random idea I got. I hope that you enjoy that, whoever gets this journal. But it starts with Luke, where the birth of Jesus is announced, and here's Elizabeth being told that she's going to be pregnant, and then Mary visits her, and then Zechariah's song, and then Mary's song, her famous one, My Soul Magnifies the Lord. Then the passage from Luke talking about Mary and Joseph going to Bethlehem. This is a page from a hymnal. This is the whole story from Matthew. And then on the back it has the hymn, and then a picture of Bethlehem from a children's book. And then there's Mary with baby Jesus. And I just wanted to layer that up and add that. I just thought it would be fun to have. Now this page is another 6x6 paper pad page, and then I included a couple of calendar pages. This one's Christmas. And then I have this little journal card, not journal card, flash card. I ordered way back when I first started trying to make stuff. I don't remember the seller, and I don't even know if they still have a shop anymore. This is scrapbook paper or cardstock, and then I used some of the cover, the same fabric that was made from the cover. I made a pocket, added some eyelet trim, and then I just have scraps in there. But then I have this vintage postcard. This was a current postcard, and I ordered these from Boston Bag Lady. A page from a vintage gardening book, and I liked it because of the Christmas holly and the pine tree, and it just added to the Christmas feel. I'm gonna have to turn this a bit, I think, so you can see. We're getting to the middle here. One thing I forgot to mention was I wanted that Christmas story in this as close to the center of the journal as I could. And it's symbolic of the fact that Christ is the center of Christmas. He's the foundation and the basis for Christmas. So he's in the center of this journal. Original recipe page with a lovely picture, cardstock page, and here's another one of my favorite things in this whole journal. This is a card, also ordered from the Boston Bag Lady, and it's definitely vintage, 1950s I think, Christmas card. So I attached it with one of these big gold clips, and then I put in one of these recipes and with orange chocolate fudge, which is probably something you find in Mama's kitchen at Christmas. It's fudge. This is one of the book pages. I backed it with a different kind of wallpaper to make a large pocket, and then I just wrapped this around the front because it was needing some extra reinforcement, and I made a pocket here. Another recipe page from a different recipe book. I've got some scraps here and some of that notepad that I use, and then a couple of very vintage playing cards. In the pocket, there's another scrap there. And then I have the packaging from a Christmas baster, but I just added some fabric up there for the little tag topper, and I made kind of a fun little tag. And then a book page from a book called All Through the House, and it has house cleaning tips and cooking tips and all kinds of things. I thought that would be fun. You can see I hole punched it, but it just wasn't gonna fit. So I put it in the pocket instead. Another music sheet. And then this is a page from a children's book where they're acting out the passion play in the barn. Isn't that cute? And then there's another image on the back, Christmas image. Another book page, and I made a belly band out of a wallpaper strip. And in here I put a Christmas card and then a page from a Precious Moments Christmas book. And then you will see that on this side, I just added a little paper sack, and in here are all kinds of little things that I had hoped to embellish with, and I just didn't really have a good spot for that, but I left them in here for the owner. And then there's another vintage gift tag, and then another little vintage Denison seal with a puppy. So those are all in there for you to enjoy and play with, whomever you may be. Another one of those tabbed index dividers, and I made a pocket for the back, and then I've got another page from that Christmas gift book with an angel and another one of those recipe cards and some scraps and notebook paper, and then this is a piece of fabric ribbon. So I just like it. I like the color, so he's in there. I'm going as fast as I can, but we keep running out of time. This, I made a little tuck out of one of the cards, added a flower, and stuck a couple fun things under there. Another original book page, and then another one from that 90s Christmas journal about cooking, 90s cooking journal. This is from a children's book, a really old children's book about the Christmas story, and I just liked the artwork and the colors, and there's the angels. And I made this little tuck spot up here out of just scraps of fabric, scraps of lace, an old scrap I've had in my cardstock pile, and then some buttons. And then this was just some kind of interesting paper that I found, and I like the design on it, so it became a page. Now this is an altered envelope, and I just punched it to fit in here. I layered it up with kind of a cluster, but kind of not. I just took a lot of different things, fabrics, lace, and then I had this in my scrapbooking stash, so I stenciled poinsettias on here and then put in some fun little things to play with in there. Another vintage book page, and it was looking a little rough, so I actually stitched it to some tea-dyed paper, plain paper. And then I added a sticker here. Another one of those pages from that sweet book with the children's images. And another of these flashcards. And this is a paint chip. And then this is a different paper pad. And I love how the blues and the oranges match her blue shirt and her pretty red hair. That was not intentional, but once I put that there, I just liked it, so we kept it. And then the cocoa, you've got the brown paint chip. It all works together. This is another piece of cardstock, and I've just used a strip of lace as a belly band. And then I've got another page, book page here, some more recipes from a different style binder, and another scrap from the cardstock. And then I put a little jingle bell on a safety pin. Children's book page that kind of gives that 70s vibe. Original recipe page, cardstock, another original page from the binder. I just like the images, so obviously when the new owner gets it, you can add or subtract as you wish. Another page from a Christmas gift book, another hymn sheet. Then on the back you have Joy to the World. This is a piece of scrapbook paper. I trimmed it out with a really small eyelet trim. On the inside I stamped it, made a fabric flip, and glued in a piece of notepad paper. It's all kind of fun. It's just hiding under there. And then this I have to mention because I make this recipe all the time. I do the oven fried chicken, and so it was in excellent shape, and I added it to this recipe binder because I thought that would be kind of fun. Oh, and chicken cacciatore, yum. More scrapbook paper. I'm getting hungry, so I want to hurry. Another vintage recipe book page, notepad, and then a different style of postcard, vintage postcard from Boston Bag Lady. A handmade hand-stamped tag by me. Another one of those vintage recipe cards, vintage playing card, also ordered from Boston Bag Lady. And then these I made a while ago. It has part of the Christmas story on there, so that was appropriate. It seemed to fit in. This is a photo sleeve, and this is a recipe from this binder that was clipped inside, and it's for Western beef stew. Then on the back I have another recipe that I took out of my stash, so it's like from the 90s. And then this is just a little tag kind of thing from Hobby Lobby with vintage Santa, so you can decorate with him. And then I filled this up with some scrapbook papers and things. Here's the other half of that placemat. Another page, and so I sewed the fabric pieces up here, and then I backed it with some of that vintage wrapping paper. This is a little card from the Christmas Eve service at my kids' church, and they had a bunch left over, so I snagged them, and it makes the perfect pocket. Scrap, scrap. This one I folded into a booklet. This is a game from Family Feud game. This is like the answer sheet. I thought that would be kind of fun because that might be something that you're playing at Grandma's house. And another scrap of paper that I've made into a tag. I backed it with some notepad pages and a sticker. And then this one, I've sewn another pocket out of fabric and used that same pretty eyelet. And then I put a couple scraps and a notepad paper in there, and then another book page from that vintage Around the House with helpful household tips. Just put that in there. This is an actual page from a vintage not Betty Crocker, but Good Housekeeping recipe binder. It's in such perfect shape, and it had the right color scheme, so I put that in there. Helen Steiner Rice book page, and then another 6x6 paper pad page. This is from a recipe book from Current, and the founder was somebody who really liked to do cooking, and so she had made her own cookbook. And this is a page from that cookbook. Christmas Yummies. Another gardening page. And then on this one, I clipped one of those little book pages. I just attached it like that. And more notepad paper for writing. Another vintage gardening book page. Another book page, and I paper clipped some notepad pages. I added a little topper and a little charm that says joy. Scrapbook paper, cardstock, I mean. I did reinforce this, but this one's coming off, so it might need to be glued again. Children's book page, more vintage wallpaper that fits the theme and the color scheme, and then to reinforce it, I just used a strip of that wrapping paper. Cardstock, I used a sticker. This is from an old Christmas card, but I like the image, so I clipped it on there. And on the back side, you have a guest check. This is from a children's book. I liked that. And then this is the cover page. This has the measurements and things that are so handy. But this is the cover page to that holiday cookbook from Current by the founder, Miriam Wu. Scrapbook paper, cardstock with pretty lace attached. Book page, another photo album sleeve. This is one of the plain pages from that cookbook, from the Current cookbook, but I liked the images. So they had really pretty line drawings. So they're all kind of here at the back, I don't know. Here's another one of those journal cards that I have made out of the old cards that I have left over in my stash. Scrap, and then a little blank piece of stationery note card there, which actually I included some of these in my Retro Brights journal pack. So here's another one of those doilies from my daughter's outfit, and I just put it over the top here, folded it over the top, and this is a cluster. And under here I put another one of those book pages and another vintage recipe. Original book page, another children's book page, another hymn page with We Three Kings, and that one is there because this is another one of those craft books, and there are the Three Kings. Isn't that fun? This is a children's activity book, I believe. This is a piece of cardstock, and on the back, this was just swimming around in my stash from something. So I had this is from a scrapbook paper pad, and I sewed it on here, and it's a piece of scrapbook paper, and I made a pocket, and it has notepad paper and some scraps, and then this little index card divider, which I thought would be fun. Kind of a little something different. Sandwich section. More cardstock. You know, guys, I would have taken something out, but it just all makes sense. It works in here together, so I know it's getting kind of fat here at the end. This is from a different notepad, also thrifted. A lot of my elements are thrifted. Okay, so in this pocket, this is Christmas cardstock, made another really big pocket out of the same fabric that's on the cover. I included a photo sleeve. I have these in my Christmas journal packs, and I had some left over, so I put that in there. And then I had found these at a thrift store. That's Mama for this journal, Mama's Kitchen. So this is her cookbook, we're going to pretend. And then here's another different style of vintage recipe card. And then another small page from the Christmas book, another one from the Current cookbook. That's really pretty. Some helps on how to set your holiday table. A second page from the 1950s book on where to eat. This was all about different bed and breakfasts in each of the 50 states. Isn't that great? Fabric flip here and some of that heart trim that I like to use. And then this was, I believe, feed sack fabric. This is from a knitting and crochet book. And we are finally at the last page. Hand stamped with a stamp with the cocoa and cookies for Santa and the gingerbread man. Another gingerbread man stamp. And here is the back piece of the gingerbread man from the front. So guys, that is Mama's Kitchen. If you made it all the way through this ring style binder flip through, you are great. Thank you for sticking with me. So that is Mama's Kitchen, and you will see her on sale now in my shop. So the sale runs through the 31st, but this will be listed in there today, the day this video airs. So that's it. I want to thank you all for watching. If you found value from this content, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to click subscribe if you haven't done that yet to help this channel grow. And then I just want to remind you about my contest that I will be sponsoring when we hit 50 subscribers. Then I will sponsor a contest to help us grow to 100 subscribers. So looking forward to that. I don't know yet quite what I'm going to give away for that, which means I better get busy making something. But anyway, thank you so much for sticking with me, and I appreciate all of you, and I'm just glad that you're here. Now, I do have something to read really fast. And today is a short reading, also from the same booklet. We're carrying our theme all the way through the series. I picked this one because the journal was Mama's Kitchen, and because this talks about how to make a difference and how to live your life to make a difference. And definitely I think mamas do that. I think mamas that give to their families and who are always loving and giving and sharing make a difference in our world. That's why I picked this excerpt to read to you today. So today it's from Max Lucado from his book A Gentle Thunder, and the verse is 1 Timothy 4:12. Be an example in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. You want to make a difference in your world? Live a holy life. Be faithful to your spouse. Be the one at the office who refuses to cheat. Be the neighbor who acts neighborly. Be the employee who does the work and doesn't complain. Pay your bills. I'm going to add on time. Pay your bills. Do your part and enjoy life. Don't speak one message and live another. People are watching the way we act more than they are listening to what we say. And that just made me think of how moms, are the examples in their home, and the kids are watching and other people are watching, and how can they live their lives to be a good example and to be an encouragement to others. And then this little quote from Charles Swindoll says, when you give yourself, the gift never has to be returned. So that is our thought for the day, our inspiration, and I want to thank you for watching the video here of Mama's Kitchen. And until next time, I want you to be inspired and do something creative today. Thank you so much. See you next week.